Whatever makes money, I think, is really.
And I do think it goes back the other direction too, where however much money that you have, the more sway you have on fighting, or not fighting, but controlling your own.
You may not even believe in it, but if it makes you money,
right? Okay, but full circle. Let's just go ahead and say that this whole mandate thing causes 20%. I mean, granted, that's a high number, but let's just say it's even 10%. 10% of Americans just be like, no, ain't happening. 10% of the federal income tax gone. Are they just going to charge companies?
Just going to print more money.
They're just going to print more money until you submit.
That's the whole reason why Nixon did what he did.
I mean, realistically, you really think any one of us is going to submit?
Fuck no.
No.
But you gotta remember...
So is that not a long-term losing proposition for the federal government?
I think of those 10%, at least half of them will submit. At a certain point, at some extent.
Well, it went from 75 to 5 in the margin to 20, but now you cut that down to 10. So let's just say 2.5.
Here's the problem with modern society. People like comfort more than opposing a dictatorship or authoritarianism, right? Like people like their air conditioning, they like their TVs, they like all these things. People aren't willing to give up everything like people in the past used to do.
Because they have more.
Right. I think that's going to be key to breaking this whole, I don't want to say tradition, but I guess ideology of how the government works and the whole control scheme. People don't want to give up their comforts in today's world. Right? People in the past would have lived in a fucking hut and sticks.
And they did.
And they did.
I still
and you would literally have to.
Did me and I had to fuck with these fucking assholes out there.
See,
but most people won't.
Let's talk about that for a second. Where back in the day, people lived in huts and stuff like that. You would literally have to send a soldier 20 miles out to that hut.
Why does it have to be a soldier? Why can't I just walk that 20 miles?
Because you would be a soldier defending whatever you
Right. So the king or the lord of that area would have to literally send somebody out there.
What do you want to be, a jester?
That's assuming that it's a monarchy system too.
Well, I'm just making a lot of
assumptions. You're defending what you believe in.
I'm kind of just giving you like a.
So why does it have to be any form of government? Hey, maybe I'm just doing my own shit. All right.
Yeah,
hey, guess what? Maybe I need some corn. Maybe I can trade you some rice.
That bartering systems never work, because what if he has enough apples and he doesn't really want your corn? Then that's why people are trading.
You want to bang my wife?
That's why in the like Mediterranean Sea they traded seashells. Like, this is debt. They would give a person seashells and say like,
well, why aren't I out there digging up seashells all day?
Okay, well, if I don't, guess what? I'll go back to my house. I'll eat my rice. He'll eat his corn, and so what? I mean,
then
maybe,
what happens if there's a drought?
Maybe we could make a trade. Maybe we could have Thanksgiving together one time.
This is where the banking systems came into play. Because what happens if all his fucking apples rotten or your rice?
He doesn't have apples. He has corn.
Whatever the fuck it is. Either way, what if he runs out and he's starving?
I think you're all missing the point that I was trying to make.
And that wasn't.
Well, he was going into bartering systems.
Right.
And that's why
so my basic point was nowadays that everything's interconnected and they can immediately impose these mandates on you and you have to conform immediately.
Right.
Back
you
then,
your luxuries.
Back then, somebody might live 20 miles out of this lord's area and he would literally have to send a soldier or somebody that works for him out to that location to impose their will on you.
Yeah, and the guy would
probably and it might be like 2 months
fuck
later.
You!
And then the soldier would have to walk back with whatever taxation that he had, and then 2 months, and then you'd have to send somebody out 2 months later, and the whole time that guy's doing whatever the hell he wants for those 2 months.
What a time
but is it
diseases
really?
and all, I'd rather live then than today.
So we're talking about the differences in the world from then to the differences in the world from now.
Well, think about it. We live longer, but look, we're shells of human beings. At least back then, you lived in the wilderness, right? So say you had a log cabin. Like, at least you had a little purpose. Nowadays, what do you do?
Well, I think that's the way the way
There's no purpose
society
for
is
most
now.
people. Yeah.
Because they know that they'll have to work day and night for 70 hours a week to afford a decent place to live.
I don't realistically believe that's even a valid argument, because I'm fairly certain that all three of us here could hunt our own food if the situation actually presented itself.
Yeah, and wouldn't you feel more fulfilled, right, than just being a shell in this fucking world?
There's only one way to really find out. I mean, you could have your opinion
off the grid.
That's what you want until you actually do it. Because you know they have these small socialist societies. They'll pop up, and you can.
Well, I can prove this to you.
Right. Well, give me a second.
Go ahead.
The small socialist communities. That's what they think that they want. Right. They think they know what they want. They want this idea of everybody working together and everybody having the same amount. So they move out to these areas, and they don't have the luxuries of the world, and they can't create those luxuries because they have no capitalism to trade to another place. So they normally last for maybe 1 to 2 years, and then they have to move back into society. Because
counter argument to you: there's more suicide in first world countries than there are in third world countries.
I would completely understand and agree with that, because you're more in your own head.
Stress. There's way more stress.
Yeah.
There's way more stress in first world countries than there are in third world countries.
Yeah.
They're living in the moment.
That's it. All they give a fuck about is food and water.
Trying to survive.
That's it.
And
food, water, shelter.
And what
three basic principles.
What are you trying to?
So that's just
what are you trying?
Your argument right there. Because if you're living in a first world country, you have that comfort of going back into society.
But people that people that have came from a first world society and go to a third world society generally always go back to the first world society. Now, the reason why I believe, my opinion, that there's more suicide in a first world country than a third world country is because it's not really about achievement; it's more about survival. And then when you get to a first world country and you're pretty much guaranteed your survival, you have to find another purpose. And a lot of people have trouble finding that purpose or that happiness within their lives.
Well, what would be the purpose of going to a first world country if you have everything?
It's kind of a weird thing where you have everything that you need to survive. So there's a rat experiment.
I was going to say I was getting ready to go to the rat experiment. Go ahead.
I don't remember. I don't remember what it is. I would like to know that. Let's talk about that on a future episode because I can't.
I would love to go on that rat episode, dude. It was a mouse episode. It wasn't rats.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead. That's a science and technology thing you can bring up next week.
Okay.
Well, all right. There we go. That was some sort of episode.
Right. We kind of got off that.
Yeah,
but we kind of went down different
routes. It's all right. It's all right. Final thoughts. I'm going to propose this final thought. This shit is fucking illegal. What do you got?
At the end of the day, it is. It's unconstitutional, and they need to go fuck themselves. I'm glad that different states are about to sue the federal government for this.
Yeah, that's actually already been happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it won't be implemented or it won't be... Because I definitely think they're going to try to pass it. I don't know if they're going to be able to fight it. I'll have to look into the legalities of it. Personally, in my opinion, there's no way that this should be allowable by the federal government. And I'm just hopeful that it's smacked away.
And on top of that, forcing another, I don't want to say not branch, but a arm, OSHA, to enforce this. I mean, it's just stupid to me.
It's basically the equivalent of somebody holding you down and shoving a...
Authoritarianism.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to.
It's fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 14 of the podcast.
November already.
It is November now.
November.
I am, of course, Gregor Guy, joined here by Mr. Cuz and Mr. Casey.
Interesting topics.
Interesting topics. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What are your opinions on this entire controversial, it's a really controversial matter.
I got you.
Remember to like, share, and
Subscribe.
Hit that bell button.
thank you for joining us for
Goodness
this
gracious, great balls of fire. I don't know.
Fair enough.